friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to be working on a project for the Paige Evans cut file design team. For today's project, I am going to be telling a story about my husband. So I have a picture here that is printed at a traveler's notebook size. So this is 8 1/4 inches tall by 4 1/4 inches wide. So my story is actually going to go inside of a traveler's notebook. I have this one, which is an older Studio Calico subscription traveler's notebook, and I have decided I'm going to go ahead and use this page, although I'm going to cover everything up with different elements using the Paige Evans Wonders kit or collection of supplies. So I am going to have the photo be fully on one side, and I might add a couple of embellishments onto there. But on the opposite side, I'm going to cover this page with this yellow paper here, which is not quite 8 1/4 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually, let's take this off so you can see here. I'm going to position it so there's a little bit of red on the top and on the bottom, which is why I've chosen this page, because I like the way that the red reflects the colors of the shirt that my husband is wearing here in this photo. So it's got both the red and the yellow in it. Then on top of this, I have this cut file, which is a jewel, I think it's just like a jewel cut file is what it's called. I'll make sure I link it down below for you guys. But I made this so that it is 8 1/4 inches tall so that it can lay here on part of the page. So it's only going to cover, I'm only going to use about half of this. My plan is to back this with a bunch of different colors and patterns from the Wonders collection. So I've pulled a bunch out here that I like. There's also, these all come from the 6x8 paper pad. And then I've also pulled out this one, which is paper number 20, which has a bunch of 2x2 patterns on it, which I could also use for backing. Like I kind of like this one in the middle here with the red. There's some yellows that are really great in here as well. So we'll see if I want to use any of those. And then the back side is this pretty awesome blue. So I also could just do that even. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like doing. I really actually like that blue. But what I will do is I will back all of these different elements here. And then I've also got, actually this might be what gets backed with that blue. I have this title that says Best Day Ever, which I am going to back and then put it on the half circle here as well. Then once I have all of this done, we're going to create an interactive element that opens up, and then there will be journaling on the back side of this half circle. So that gives me some place to add some words, and then also a fun way to use a cut file for this project. So what I'm going to do is I will first take you over to the computer and show you how I went ahead and adjusted both of these files to work in today's project. Once we do that, I am going to go off screen and go ahead and back this cut file. That way, you know, I don't take up a whole bunch of your time with you just watching me backing the file itself. However, I will show you really quick one little spot just so you can see how I go about backing these things. So I'm thinking what I will do, and I have this in a smaller format as well. So I'm just curious, like maybe what I want to do is use a bunch of different blues on this. I think that actually could be pretty fun. So I've got, you know, a number of blue patterns here. I've got this one, and I actually have another one that's fairly solid. And then there are some on here as well that I can pull out and use. Now, what I would do is I would take my cut file itself and turn it over on its backside. So then, or on the front so that the backside is up. Then I'm going to take my liquid glue, and I'm using the Tombow Mono Multi Liquid Glue. And I'm just going to dab some dots onto the white part, so onto the outline of the section that I'm going to back. So we've got it all the way around this little section here. Then I'm going to flip it back over and position it wherever I want it to go on the paper here, and then just stick it down. So we will push all of that down here. And then before the glue fully dries, I'm actually going to go ahead and trim it off from the back side. So I'm going to reach my precision scissors in here. I love to use precision scissors because I feel like they make doing work like this so much easier. They're easier to maneuver than the larger, longer scissors are. And these ones are my favorite ones, the Cutter Bee. It's always what I recommend, at least. Okay, so we're just going to cut along the edges here, trying to stay as close to the white and maybe sometimes even cutting a little bit underneath so that we don't see the blue poking out. Like here, I wasn't quite close enough. Let me get in there and get that. That's better. So now we see the blue with the white outline, and that looks really pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off screen, back the rest of it with all of these different blue patterns, and then I will also do the same thing with this Best Day Ever. And this I might even back this with the maybe some yellow or something. So maybe I'll do blue and then we'll do some yellow in here and call that a day. I don't think I have any more yellow in this pad, but I might have it somewhere in the 12 by 12 paper. So I'll take a look for it there. So let's head over to the computer. I'll show you the computer portion, and then we'll come back here and get this page assembled once I have everything fully backed. Okay, friends, so here I am over in the Silhouette Studio software on my computer, and for today I am going to be using 2 cut files from Paige Evans to help me create this spread about my husband. So the first thing I want to do is open them both up. Now, both of these files are going to be the scale of basically a 12 by 12 page, and I want to create mine in a 8 1/4 by 4 1/4 page, so a traveler's notebook size page instead. Now to begin with this jewel circle cut file here, this right now is the full circle inside of a 12 by 12 layout. So what I want to do, I first am going to turn on my grid. So in the page setup, I'm going to toggle over to the grid settings, and I'm going to add a check mark in the show grid. So this is going to let me see the individual inches by blocks inside of this file to help me adjust my sizing. So now that we have the grid showing behind my cut file, the next thing I need to do is go ahead and resize it down to the page size that I want to use. Now this specific cut file comes with 2 separate parts. You can see here that there's a blue part, and then there's this other part where there are tiny little dots. So what you could do is you could get rid of this green one and just use the little dots and then stitch this as a file, which I considered doing. But ultimately I decided to just go ahead and cut the file itself, and then I'm going to back it with some colored papers. So to do that, I want to go ahead and click on the stitch dot lines, and I'm going to just delete that off. That way I'm only working with the straight cut file. From here, I want to select the cut file, and then I'm going to go down into this bottom right corner, and I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the sizing. So the measurement that's going to matter to me is the height, because I want this circle to fill up the entire height of my traveler's notebook page. So I want to set this to right around the 8.25 mark. I might even do it a little bit less than 8.25 just to make sure that it fits on the page. So it is going to be wider than I need, since I'm only going to use this on half of my traveler's notebook spread. You could also go ahead and cut out this whole file, but then cut it in half and do it on both sides of a traveler's notebook as well. That would work out fine just as well. So for me, what I know is that I am going to cut this in half. Now I am going to turn it a little bit just so I can adjust and see. I want it to be straight up and down where the triangles are at the very top and the very bottom. That's just going to help me adjust this size-wise. So when we have this on a traveler's notebook, I'm only going to use half of it. I will cut out the whole thing. It's just going to be easier to work with it as a whole thing. But just for your reference, I'm only going to use half of this circle. The reason that matters and why I adjusted it to look like this is because I also want to create a title piece, which is right here, and see it's very large. I want to create a title piece that will go in the middle of that jewel circle. So I'm going to come over to my title, which is Best Day Ever, click on it, and then I'm going to Control C for copy the file. Let's go back to the Jewel page and we're going to paste it. So Control V to paste. From here, I can select this file again, and we are just going to shrink it down until I can get it where I like it inside of this Jewel circle, probably right about there. And maybe I would make it just a tad bit bigger, fill up a little bit more of that space, and then that is going to be my title on top of the Jewel. So I will back the Best Day Ever with one color pattern, and then I will do something that contrasts with it on the back Jewel part. So now that I have both of these the size that I want them, I can move the Best Day Ever somewhere else on the page so it doesn't interfere with the Jewel, and we'll move the circle Jewel. So now we've got both pieces here on the page, and I would send it through the Silhouette cutting machine just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and see if I hit the send button. You can see all of those cut lines here. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then I will meet you guys back over at the table to go ahead and get this page fully assembled. All right, friends, so I have gone off screen and I went ahead and backed all of the blue portions of this circle gem cut file. The next thing that I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to put some white here in the middle. Since I'm only going to be using half of this cut file, I don't actually, this doesn't matter so much, this writing over here, that's going to get cut off. And then what I decided to do was, instead of covering this page with the yellow here, which I still really like it, but instead of doing that, I'm actually going to back the Best Day Ever cut file with this yellow instead. And then I went into some of the ephemera pieces from the Wonders collection, and I found this floral piece that I think looks really cool, along with the here and now. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to add my photo in. I'm going to have this as just a decorative piece, and then this will ultimately go over top of it and become an interactive piece. So I will have to see how I can finagle that to work here. I may have to make some adjustments. I mean, we'll have to see how this is going to go here, but I really do like the way that this looks. And then what I want this to do is I want this to open so that the backside can have journaling over here. So what I'm going to do, I'll put you on fast forward here for a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this backed with the white, and I'm also going to go ahead and back this with the yellow so that we have all the pieces that we need in order to complete this project, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to set aside the Best Day Ever cut file for a second here and finish up this Jewel one first. So I'm just going to take my liquid adhesive glue, add it around the sections of this cut file that I know for sure are going to need it. So there's a section there that I didn't back with the blues because I'm just going to cut that off anyway. And so I'm just going around, how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of the sides of this cut file. So once I have that adhered down onto the white, I did have the textured part of the white up towards the top just because I like the way that that looks. Then the next thing I'm going to do is trim off underneath to try and reduce the amount of bulk of this cut file here on the back. So I'm just kind of cutting around where that opening is so that it is adhered down, but I don't have a bunch of, excess material there on the back. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and in the meantime I'm going to work on this one, the Best Day Ever title piece. Now this is going to be quite a bit tedious, so I'm just going to do the first one and then the rest of them I'll go do off screen. Basically I'm going to go one letter at a time, adding some adhesive dots all around the perimeter or all around the outside of the first letter there, the B. Then I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down onto the paper, which is an ombre yellow, and go from there. So I started at the top and I made the word best with the darkest yellow, and then the word day with the lighter yellow, and the word ever with the lightest yellow in the ombre shape there. And then once I had those adhered down, I just trimmed around the individual letter and then moved on to the next one and trimmed around that letter and then moved on to the next one. So tedious, yes, which is why I decided to just take it off screen and finish it up there. Next, I took the jewel circle there and cut it directly in half because I want it to fit in the traveler's notebook. So I did make sure that at its widest point that it was roughly 4.25, and I think I might have made it just a hair less than that so that it would close easier. Then I took another piece of textured white cardstock, and I'm tracing out the shape of the jewel there. Once I have that done, first I trim this out because I'm not really thinking about how I'm going to add my journaling onto here. But once I think about that for a little bit, you'll see my solution for how to get journaling on the opposite side of that half circle. In the meantime, I'm going to work on the actual traveler's notebook itself. So you can see here that the middle of this red paper says here and now, which I could have left. That would have been totally fine, but I wanted to add a little bit of something extra from the Wonders collection onto this spread. I found this really, really awesome, like floral mosaic type of die cut. It has journaling lines in the middle, so I could have added more journaling, but instead I took the piece that says here now, which is funny because it's the exact same sentiment that was underneath, and I stuck that on top of the floral piece there in the middle. I love the way that title works. And then I'm also going to take this photo of my husband, cut it down a little bit to make sure that it will fit nicely into the album, and then I will adhere that inside the album using my score tape from scrapbook.com. I generally like to use either the 1/4 inch or the 1/8 of an inch score tape. Either one is great. I don't know, sometimes I just choose the thicker one for placing pictures inside just because I know it's going to adhere it down super, super well. I will say that with the die cut piece there on the left side of the spread, I love how the green of the Here Now title mimics the green of the grass behind my husband. So nothing else in this spread has green in it, but by having that, it does draw your eye to the fact that he's outside because you can see the green. Next, I'm taking the cut file that I had backed, and I also grabbed some washi tape that I just had in my stash. So this is like a yellow check type of washi tape. And I applied some of it to the inside or the back side of that jewel shape. So this is going to be eventually how I create my hinge to make this element interactive and move. I did go ahead and cut out the opposite side of the circle. So this is what's going to go on the back of the jewel. And then I'm going to adhere it to a piece of plain white paper, just white copy paper, trying to keep it as in the middle and as straight as possible. I brought that over to my typecast typewriter, which I haven't used in a long time. So it was actually really, really fun to get over there and use that again. And I love the way that typewriter typed out text looks. It's just so cool. So I typed that onto the textured side of the white cardstock, trimmed it, or I didn't trim it back out. I took it back off of the regular paper, added some more adhesive, and then I stuck it to the back side of my cut file. It is a little bit too big, so I just took the washi tape and stuck it back on itself so that it was out of the way, and then I'm trimming off the excess pieces so that we get a more refined cut there on the side. And then once I have that done, I'm going to adhere it onto this pattern paper. Now, washi tape doesn't have the strongest hold, so I decided to grab a piece of that score tape and add it to the edge there, which is what my washi tape is actually going to adhere on top of. And then my head's going to get in the way here for a second while I get this into position, and then I'll stick it right on top. So that washi tape in combination with the score tape is going to have a really strong hold, so I don't necessarily have to worry about this piece falling off of my album over time. I think it will stay on there just fine. I trimmed off the excess little bits of washi tape there, and now I've got this interactive piece that moves. So next I want to add my title onto the front end of this jewel piece. So I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive to make sure that it stays down really well. I could have used roller tape, but I really wanted to make sure that this title had a strong hold, especially since there is a lot of texture and ridges and that sort of thing on the cut file that it's going on top of. So once we get that down, I will position it into the middle and then press it down for it to seal. And I love the way that these two elements look on top of each other. I am so, so, so happy that I decided to go with blue and white on the back part and then yellow on the title. I just think it helps the title gives it a punch and gets it right off of that spread so you can totally see it. And then, just the way that it goes with my husband's clothing is just perfect. So next I'm going to look for some smaller embellishments that will help me give this spread, some final touches. It was feeling a little bit empty on the inside of the spread there on the red. And then I also didn't have anything over on the photo of my husband. So I was just trying to figure out a way that I could add a little bit more to the inside without overwhelming it or without drawing attention to, places where I didn't want attention drawn. So one of the things with the photo of my husband is there's not a ton of room around his head, which is normally where I would have put some kind of embellishment there. It feels weird to add something on top of him. So eventually what I will land on is I'll find a skinny label sticker that's a darker blue so it matches with his jeans. And then I will take my a roller date stamp and I'll just date this spread and add it right at the bottom right-hand corner of the photo of him. For the journaling, there was this section at the top of the circle or the half circle that just felt a little too empty. So I grabbed out some of these clear stickers to see if I could find some that would work for that spot. I really like the way that these two leaf sprigs look. And then there was also this really tiny red floral sticker that I stuck in the middle of them. I like the way that it looks, so I'm going to go with that. And then for the rest of this, I also really like the idea of adding some gold, especially since the leaf stickers that I just stuck down that are clear, those are actually gold too. So I wanted to put a little bit more gold on here so that didn't seem so out of place. And ultimately, I'm just really struggling with how to embellish the photo of my husband. It took me a long time to figure out what to do with that. And I'm happy with the way that it turns out. It keeps it pretty simple and plain, but also adds a little bit of something to the photo of him and gives it a purpose as well. So here's that small sticker and me trying to figure out, do I want it to go here? I think so. I'm not sure. I think so. I'm going to stick it back down here for a second so I can go ahead and roller date stamp it. And then we'll bring it back up. And I'm only going to use a portion of it. So I'll have it interact with the side of the page. And then we'll just trim off the excess and stick that back on the sticker sheet to use another time. Once I do that, I will grab over my sticker sheet yet again and decide to add a couple of gold tiny cardstock stickers just to bring in the gold and to give it a little bit of extra embellishment on the spread, especially since the date didn't take up all of the label there. I wanted to add one of the heart stickers in that section as well. So I love the way that this spread turns out, and I love being able to add some interactivity to my traveler's notebooks. All right, friends, that finishes up this spread for today. So we've got the cut file here on the left side that flips open with my journaling on the back, a little bit of decoration on the inside page, and the full page photo here on the right side. I think that this turned out so, so pretty, and it does close up just fine. So I'll just... I typically have my traveler's notebooks with a binder clip on them just to help them stay closed, but it does close up just fine. And then when we open it up, it just is really cool. So I love the way that this one turned out. I hope that you guys also enjoyed seeing how this spread came together. And if you did, I would love a thumbs up down below. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you can catch all of my future crafty videos. I will be back again later in the week with some more process videos. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, friends.